Hello, welcome to another Album of Record podcast. I'm Craig, joined as always by Andrew, who is not wearing his glasses, so I can tell him anything I want is in the rundown and our notes, and he will just have to believe me.
Yeah, I should be wearing my glasses right now, but it turns out they reflect my light that I have right
Just
here.
wear them. It's
And
fine.
if I do it, you get this like super annoying light reflecting off of my eye. But
That's what you're gonna look like when you get those Meta glasses with the little
yeah,
screen inside.
or if I was Connor Stallions with a little recording thing, it's
Yeah,
like
there you go.
that's the recording light.
All right. So before we get started, before you and I jumped on, I was at an appointment to donate blood today, and I was texting you during that the most painful part of donating blood was the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I shouldn't ever have to listen to Jelly Roll, Son of a Sinner.
They don't let you pick the music when you do it?
No, no. And then this one, I still don't know that Brett Young is a real live country music star. Change Your Name by Brett Young. I had to Shazam all the weird songs, but then, then there were some good ones. I got a little
Okay.
bit of some Adele. I like Adele.
Okay. Yeah.
I just give me some basic grocery store adult contemporary, and I'm
Adult
fine.
contempo.
Yeah, that's like my stuff. I love Roxette.
I I've never given blood. I'm a coward and can't do it. So I'm one of those people that gets weird about. I don't get weird about other people's blood, but my own blood, it makes me a little queasy.
Well, I had to get over it because getting stuck with the needle is really tough. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. But I
It's
got way out of the habit, so it's probably been 2 or 3 years, and so I'm
yeah.
trying to get back to it.
The needle doesn't bother me. It's the seeing my blood.
Yeah.
Like if I well like so like when I give I don't know why I'm telling this story, but I never used actually didn't grow up this
Because
way
this
at
is the
all.
banter portion of the podcast.
Yeah, and I used to, when I have to get blood drawn, just for standard checkups, blood tests, all that stuff, I could sit there and just watch them. I used to watch the vial, fill up with my own blood. It never bothered me. But then one time, they had a
Wait,
nurse
hang
in
on.
training.
You went to see Guar.
Yeah,
No? All right.
no, that wasn't it. Uh, but they had a nurse in training, and they're like, "Do you mind if she tries to do it?" And I was like, "That's fine." And she missed completely somehow the first time, which I really don't know how you miss completely. Like she got nothing. And it's like I could see that she was gonna miss it. And then so she has to do it again. And
She
she
wasn't
just
wearing her glasses.
see how she didn't want the light reflecting in my eyes. And the second time she like just kind of like caught the edge of it. And so then she's like twisting it
Digging
to like
around.
trying to get in there, and it made me queasy. And ever since then, every time I get blood drawn, if I watch them do it, if I like it, I'll start to get lightheaded. But so I just look the other way. Like the act of doing it doesn't bother me at all, but it's just I don't know, the sight of my own blood filling up in a vial or going through a tube apparently bothers me now.
Yeah, bad phlebotomist ruins it for everybody.
Really does. You gotta be careful with those people in training, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
There's so many things in life that are like that, though. Like things that maybe don't bother you, but you have like a bad experience with it or something happens and it just sticks with you. And our brains are funny like that, that no matter how much you shouldn't have to worry about it. You do. Like, I'll go even deeper with this. Like, so I have white coat syndrome, they call it, where my blood pressure is significantly higher in the doctor's office.
no way.
So, yeah.
Really?
And so what they actually had to have me do, I have a home blood pressure monitor. So high blood pressure runs in my family. Both my parents have it. Like, so I always knew this was
But
probably
your
my
blood
fate.
pressure is actually higher in the doctor's office?
Oh yeah. And I mean,
My
we're not
gosh.
talking a little bit. We're talking to the point that I always see like when they first check my blood pressure, that look of like shit in their eyes, like, oh my God. And then I have to explain to them. So finally, my doctor was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Get a monitor for your home so you can check it at home and then bring that in with you and we'll do a reading. And as long as it's, about the same, then you can self-monitor at home. And so I brought it in. Sure enough, read exactly the same. But when I'm at home, I have a normal blood pressure. And it's funny because like I don't feel, I don't know, like I don't necessarily like feel nervous about going to the doctor, but like what'll happen is like, so I have to get annual checkups for my blood pressure, and like the week before, maybe sometimes 2 weeks, like whenever I set the appointment, it starts to spike up at home when I check it. There's something about knowing that it's being monitored that, I don't know, makes my blood pressure rise for some reason. So yeah, just weird things about the human body. Or just me.
And who knows what would happen to all of that if they were playing Jelly Roll.
Yeah, that would definitely raise it even higher.
All right, so this is the news and notes section of the podcast. Coming up soon is the Rock Hall ceremony, which is going to be in LA this year. One of the annoying things about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that they sometimes move the ceremony to New York or LA, and they don't just have it in Cleveland. I get it. Los Angeles and New York are nice. I do. I understand why they do it. I just don't like it.
Do they do the NFL Hall of Fame in New York sometimes?
No, they don't.
MLB? I mean,
no, but
Cooperstown,
it's a big concert. So I do kind of understand that it's nice to host a giant concert in LA or New York.
I'm going to give that a pretty big. I'm not moved by your argument here.
It's not my argument.
It's silly. I think it's silly.
I do too. They should just commit to Cleveland.
And it's not a Cleveland homerism thing. I mean, first of all, I don't live in Cleveland. But second of all, like, if it was in Nashville, like, I would say it should be in Nashville. Like, other cities can have things, like events. Like, it's fine. Like, it doesn't just have to be in New York.
And to your point, Cooperstown is in the middle of nowhere. And they have the induction to the Baseball Hall of Fame right there.
It's a huge thing, and tons of people go, and it's fine. They don't have to do this. It's stupid. The Rock Hall should put their foot down on it, unless it's like, I don't know unless it's like their decision, but
I'm sure it is their decision. Okay. But anyway, so it's out in LA, and this year obviously is Soundgarden. And so I've been paying lots of attention to all the hints and rumors about what's going on. And Matt Cameron posted some pictures this week with Mike McCready, Taylor Momsen.
I thought they were enemies.
Right? And Jerry Cantrell. So we're starting to get some hints about what the Soundgarden induction might turn into. At one point, didn't I guess Taylor Momsen, the Petty Reckless? I know I said St. Vincent.
I thought I guessed it, but maybe not. Maybe it was you.
Well, I know you and I triangulated around. It was probably going to be a female, just to avoid too many comparisons to Chris Cornell.
I don't know if I'm offline or if Craig is offline.
Well, I think I'm back, so I'm not sure who keeps dropping out.
We have a serious connection issue here, and I don't know if it's you or me. I can't tell. My system, well, first of all, I can barely see it, but
yeah. Well, let's have some faith that our software will figure it out.
Okay.
So, Jerry Cantrell, Mike McCready, Taylor Momsen. I wonder if there will be any other singers joining aboard for Soundgarden.
Yeah, like, it's interesting if it's only Mike that's going to be there from Pearl Jam. Like, I'd be a little bit surprised that Stone and Jeff wouldn't be involved, but, I don't know. Maybe they don't want to overload it with everybody, and, you could certainly have Ed there. Well, I mean, I know it's not Temple
I'm sure
Dog,
they're all going to be there, but...
Yeah, unless they all just hate Matt Cameron now. So I'm going to keep forcing this, pretending like there's bad blood there. And
yeah, and I don't think there is at all.
No, I mean, clearly there's not.
Yeah. So my guess had been St. Vincent, and I know we had talked about Taylor Momsen from the Pretty Reckless. I don't know why I always want to call them the Petty Reckless, but they're both good band names.
Yeah, I don't... It's funny because I don't understand Soundgarden's infatuation with her, but, I mean, maybe it's purely friendship, but musically, I don't understand it, but that's fine. Everybody's got opinions. She is not my cup of tea.
I think she's a more talented singer than the music that band puts out.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Another kind of a weird, not quite news item I saw this week was there was somebody posted an embarrassing video of NSYNC's Chris Kirkpatrick doing some dancing and singing in a clear
I
kind of embarrassing money grab.
I have to laugh because poor Chris Kirkpatrick, I cannot hear his name without hearing the follow-up line from Eminem, which I won't say on here because it's not clean. But yeah, I don't. So people who know will know what I'm talking about, and it's just funny. Like anytime I hear Chris Kirkpatrick, you can.
Yeah. So I follow Josh Eppard, the drummer from Coheed and Cambria, and I have for a long time. He's a really entertaining guy, likable online character who's still on Twitter.
One of my favorite Drumeo guests. His Drumeo episode was great. He was awesome. It was
really good. And so he kind of chimed in and said, "Listen, he's doing it to make some money. Chris used to let punk bands crash at his mansion, and he was dope to us. Nothing but love for him." I had no idea that he would let bands crash in his mansion. That's pretty sweet. Like if you're going to make it in a way that lacks maybe some artistic integrity or critical acclaim, being sweet to punk rock bands is a pretty cool way to make up for it.
Well, I always think it's funny that people think that the style of art that an artist makes dictates their taste, which is just so far from the truth. Like so many people make whatever, like whatever your muse is, like you make that kind of art, whatever is inside of you that makes you create music, you create that style. Like it's very hard to make a style of music that isn't authentic to you, but it doesn't mean that that's what you always listen to or are inspired by or that you enjoy away from that. And you see this all the time. Like you see plenty of punk bands, when they list their influences, don't mention other punk bands. And sometimes they'll throw a pop artist or a country artist or something off the wall in there. And so I don't think it's that crazy that, it works kind of the other way around. And we've even seen a little bit like, Charlie XCX talking about Turnstile, proclaiming it Turnstile Summer. I mean, Paramore is not a pop band. I mean, they're clearly a rock band, but like, Hayley Williams talking about hardcore. Like Paramore's not a hardcore band, but
and Deftones.
Yeah. And so, it's clear that that's the kind of music that she listens to away from, the music that she makes within her band. So I don't know. I think it's funny that people would be surprised by this, but I do enjoy hearing the stories and, like it's okay to like let pop stars be cool. Like that's fine.
So another announcement that came this week is that Foo Fighters are going on a giant tour. And that's not the big headline. I mean, it is a big headline, and millions of people will go to see the Foo Fighters this summer. But the opener, number one, is Queens of the Stone Age. It wasn't too long ago that you and I were talking about the issues that band was having, seemingly from a health standpoint, and we were nervous that maybe they weren't going to be able to play again. And so this is pretty sweet. I've never seen them live, so I'm curious. I'm hoping they make it to August 10th in Cleveland.
Yeah. It is a fair thing to ask. They've canceled a fair amount of dates over the last couple years, but what I'm actually like really curious is whether they are doing a rock set or if they're doing a Catacombs set, because they've been playing Catacombs sets recently.
I think that in the stadium they're going to play a big old rock set.
I would think so too. When you're opening for Foo Fighters, I would imagine that's what the bill calls for. But yeah, no, I'm really excited. I think I haven't seen them since they opened for Nine Inch Nails. However, I think that was the With Teeth tour, probably.
Is that like 08, 09?
That's even earlier than that. That's like 05 or something, like in that era. Like With Teeth was quite a while ago. I was supposed to see them on the Era Vulgaris tour, whatever year that was, but they canceled the show and I couldn't make it on the makeup date. They did have a makeup date for it, but I wasn't available for that one. So I'm excited to see them again. It's been far too long since I've seen them. Yeah, and it'll be interesting seeing them in a stadium. I don't know how well they're going to translate to a stadium.
I think they'll translate great. I mean, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But the funny thing to me, and I spent a couple days just reminding everybody online that don't forget that the first opener is Mannequin Pussy, because it's just so funny to me that all the communications from the Cleveland Browns, who own the stadium and are selling the tickets, failed to mention that Mannequin Pussy is the first opener on this tour.
I think it's especially funny because a very large percentage of Foo Fighter fans have never heard of Mannequin Pussy and have no idea what the fuck that is, and
Yeah.
are looking at that like, is this right? What is this? Is this a performance art thing or
This is like the
what?
Jim Rose Circus Sideshow.
Yeah, my buddy that I'm going with, he's a big Foo Fighters fan. He had no clue. He had never heard of Mannequin Pussy, and so when I told him I was excited to see Mannequin Pussy, he was like, he's like, that's a sentence I haven't heard since I was in junior high.
So here's the real question. You're notoriously hot and cold on Foo Fighters. Would you even care if unless the openers were the openers?
I would have probably still have gone just because my buddy wanted to go, and I don't go to a lot of concerts with him, so that's one of those things that was more of just the company than the show from that standpoint. But I don't know. Like, I enjoyed the last time I saw Foo Fighters. They were
They're
good.
such a great stadium rock band.
And, they were like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I love the things I love about the Foo Fighters, but there is so much of their catalog of material that I just don't care about, which is such a weird dynamic. There's not many bands I feel that way about.
Well, they've
That
kind of entered Red Hot Chili Peppers area in terms of their longevity and how much music they're making that is kind of post-essential Foo Fighters.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think, like, the last Foo Fighters album that I like really cared about was, boy, what are we even going back to? What was the one that had Chris Novoselic played on one of the songs towards the end? What was that one called?
All right, let me go through them. The debut album, you've got The Color and the Shape, There's Nothing
Yeah.
Left to Lose, One by
yeah.
One, In Your
That
Honor,
one's great. Yep, good.
Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace.
Surprisingly good album. Has some really good songs on it.
Here we go, Wasting Light.
That's the one. That's the last album that I like really
Yeah,
cared
because
about.
then they did the Sonic Highways thing, which I didn't even really enjoy the
I
show
did
on
not care
HBO.
for it. I did not care for that experience at all.
Yeah, and then Concrete and Gold. Yeah, so no, I'm out as
That's
well.
it. Wasting Light was only like two albums ago.
2000. No, there were more, but I just
Okay.
I quit listing them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and that was, let's be honest, from 94, 95 to 2010, 2012, like, hell of a run.
Yeah, for sure. Like, they're a great rock band. No, I would never disparage that or take that away. It's just,
Yeah.
There's a certain degree of, like, they're not going to surprise us with anything anymore. You know what you're going to get with the show, and it's fine. It's good. It's just not like something that I'm like jumping for joy about, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and it's been quite the journey. I didn't enjoy the debut. I love The Color and the Shape. I was initially disappointed in There's Nothing Left to Lose, and then I only realized a few years later just how brilliant it was.
I think there may be some degree of truth to that with me too.
My initial reaction to that was, this isn't The Color and the Shape, and this isn't what I fell in love with. But then, honestly, the one song, I think is it Aurora? No, something Year was the opening theme song for a TV show called Ed.
Oh, I remember Ed
on NBC. And that was when I kind of went back to the record. Even though I didn't like that TV show very much, I went back to the record and I was like, these songs are really good, even though they don't rock as hard or as caustically as Color and the Shape.
Not counting Stacked Actors. That song rocks plenty hard.
Sure. But even that is like, it's not personal as much as it's like, it's almost like a ripped from the headlines kind of a angry song.
In hindsight, like, The Color and the Shape is the outlier album. It's a little bit Weezer Pinkerton. Like, Pinkerton in hindsight is the outlier album, and the color and the shape is the outlier. They've never struck gold to the degree that they did with that album ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Next Year was the song from Ed. Anyway, so Foo Fighters, a stadium tour. After that, we're putting you in the spotlight again. Ever since Mark Lanigan died, you apparently were on a complete and utter Lanigan hiatus, which I didn't know that you had taken such a long break, but you said your break is done.
I really didn't probably talk about it a whole lot. I would listen to Queens of the Stone Age and hear him there. I actually would listen to Screaming Trees albums. For some reason, I just couldn't listen to his solo albums. They just put me in such a dark mood listening to it. Just something about the finality of it, and just knowing that I'm never going to get another one. It was just too heavy, because I really, really, really love his solo albums, like, a lot. And yeah, I went through this a little bit with Chris Cornell and Soundgarden. I had a hard time listening to them for a while, but not near as long as this one was.
And by the way, all this is very foreign and alien to me, because when somebody passes away, I listen to them more. I can't get enough. I like revel in the misery of the sadness of it all.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like, when Robin Williams passed away, I went on YouTube and for days just watching every Robin Williams clip I could find. Same with like Norm Macdonald, That's why I don't know why. I don't think even every musician I would handle that way. It's just when you talk about like Chris Cornell and Mark Lanigan, these are two of my like all time on the highest of pedestal favorite singers, musicians. So yeah, so it was a little bit of a hiatus. I just started listening again this week, and it's really just brought like all my love for his music back to the forefront of my mind. I just tearing through from start to finish, just going through his entire discography, and I'm got a ways to go yet. Still have like 4 or 5 more albums to go, and I don't know. Where did you start? I started with The Winding Sheet, his first one, yeah. And I'm just going through his solo albums right now, not all the other stuff. But
I just didn't know if there was like one from the mid or later 90s that you gravitated toward, or if you just went straight back to the beginning.
No, I just went straight to the beginning. I mean, to be fair, Winding Sheet is one of my 2 or 3 favorite of his albums, so like it was an easy place to start anyways. Really like found myself enjoying Whiskey for the Holy Ghost a lot more than I remembered liking it.
And that one's from 94.
A lot of people know that one for River Rise, which was a song that was featured on, I think it was maybe even played at Kurt Cobain's memorial. It was featured in the, I think it was the Hype documentary when they covered his death. They used it for that part. Mark and Kurt were really good friends, and so a lot of people just have always associated that song with it. And I've always loved that song, but I really enjoyed the rest of that album. Bubblegum is certainly really great if you want a little bit of a heavier Mark Lanigan sound. So yeah, it's just been really fun sort of reconnecting and rediscovering and remembering all the reasons that his music meant so much to me. His music, like there's music that I listen to because I just really, sometimes it's an infectious thing that just makes you feel good and you enjoy listening to. Sometimes it's to let out the anger and the aggression. But Mark Lanigan's music, like I feel it. Like I don't know what it is about it. His voice, the tone of his music in his songs. I don't know. I just feel it in a way I don't feel hardly anybody else's music. So it's been really, really fun diving back into it.
And I'd kind of forgotten until I knew that this was going to be a topic, and I was glancing through the different personnel that played on some of these records, and Jay Mascis is all over the place. He plays drums on one, he plays piano on another. It's just like, it's the coolest group of
it is.
Guest
he had the
musicians
best
and
friends. He had the best friends, absolutely. And it's funny because like he wasn't always the easiest person in the world to get along with. And if you read his autobiography, like he's very upfront about that. Like he can be a prickly person, but once you become friends with him, like once you really get to that level of friendship, he's the most loyal and endearing and friend that you could possibly have.
Yeah, well, and there are plenty of cameos from Screaming Trees members and Soundgarden and Jay
Yep.
Mascis and
Kurt Cobain is on the Winding Sheet.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And they did the cover on Winding Sheet of Where Did You Sleep Last Night, which Kurt then played on Nirvana's Unplugged,
Yeah.
which is cool because that's the origin of those two friends talking about that song and how much they loved it. And it's just, cool little tidbits. And like Mark Lanigan has always like been like the coolest kid in class, but not the popular kid. Like he never sold tons of records. His band Screaming Trees were always the band that like it seemed like everybody wanted to have as much success as the other Seattle bands, but like they just never connected with the general public in the same way.
No, his
But
big deep voice was just never going to do it the same way.
yeah, for sure.
So it's funny what different reactions each of us might have from the topics that we're going to talk about, because as I was digging back through, it started to lead me back to, the oldest Seattle that you and I remember. And I was not the world's biggest Nirvana fan in the 90s. I had all the records, but I was more of a Pearl Jam guy. In those days, you felt like you had to choose a little bit.
You sure did.
But I found myself listening to, there are a handful of live records that have been released on streaming, and I was listening to live Nirvana.
Mm-hmm.
And especially that era, probably that led up to MTV Unplugged, where they're starting to play the David Bowie songs, and as Kurt would say.
Yep.
And so that's where I really found myself, and then that leads me to listen to You're Right over and over and over again. And
yeah.
so I ended up down a Nirvana path.
Nice.
Because of the Mark Lanigan news.
Yeah. That's a good, I mean, those Nirvana live albums, Muddy Banks of the Wishkah, Live at Reading, like these are just stellar live albums. And I think we talked about this a little bit last week or maybe it was 2 episodes ago when we talked about what we had left that we were anticipating this year. And one of the things we talked about was Brutus putting out this Live at Brussels. And the live album just isn't that popular these days. And it really bums me out. Like I grew up loving Van Halen, Right Here, Right Now, their live album, The Who, Live at Leeds. Like, hell, I love, even as uncool as it is to love, I love Aerosmith's Little South of Sanity. Like, I loved these live albums growing up, and you just don't get them that much anymore.
Was the Pink Floyd record that everybody had in high school, was it called Pulse, where it had the little flashing light on the jewel case? Yeah.
Yep.
Pulse.
Yep. Pulse.
I loved that.
One.
So the one that I really ended up enjoying the most was Live and Loud, live at Pier 48.
Mm-hmm.
Because on that one
is awesome.
Penny
I had
Royal
that as
Tea,
a bootleg.
The Man Who Sold the World.
Yeah. I had that as a bootleg. So before it was a like widely released thing, it was always like passed around in these underground listservs and all the places that you got music back in the day.
And that probably is peak live Nirvana.
Yeah.
They had, I'm not even sure who all the backup vocalists and side musicians are, but they've got it dialed in, and it really, having all that extra support seems to have made Kurt the best version of live Kurt.
Yeah. And
because in the early days, he had to like carry too much weight almost.
Yeah. I was literally just going to make that same point. Like when you watch I'm not talking like the Bleach era shows, that's totally different, but like the earliest, like Nevermind shows, it was a very different sounding live Nirvana than what became after In Utero. They, like you said, like Kurt was carrying so much of the weight, and it just wasn't as dynamic of a sound. And certainly adding Pat Smear to the live sets added a dimension to that. But as they added tons of different guests who would play different parts, they had permanent backup vocalists, featured guest vocalists. Like, they really fleshed out that live sound. And I've talked about this before too. It's always like one of the sadder things beyond the personal, like just loss of life. But, one of the sadder things musically is just wondering what Kurt might have done. He was limitless in his ability to write incredible hooks and pop melodies with his vocals and packaging it in this gritty, dirty way. And I think that's the appeal of Nirvana. That's a big part of why they had such wide appeal. Like, Nevermind is full of catchy songs. And, famously, Kurt hated the mixing of it because he thought it was too catchy. He was always fighting against his own instincts. It kind of goes back to a little bit what we were just talking about earlier. Like, you make the kind of music that's inside of you, and that's what was inside of him. But he wanted it to be punk so bad. And so they would
He wanted to be punk, but he fell in love. He grew up in love with the Beatles and the Beach Boys. You could just hear it.
Yep, absolutely. And so I will, whenever I think about Kurt, like, that's what I think about, is like where he might have gone musically. Like, we really lost as music fans, like I said, setting aside the personal side, but just as music fans, we really lost probably some incredible music he would have made.
And you and I have talked a lot about that, where the bands that have survived and have stuck around long enough to disappoint us, it beats the alternative. At least we got to see them go as long as they could go. We got to see the Foo Fighters go all the way to 2012, even if they're kind of disappointing us a little bit today.
Sure. Like, even like Soundgarden's King Animal, like, I don't really like that album very much, but like, we kind of have a little bit of closure of knowing where they were going.
And we'll have one more volume.
Yeah, one
what it sounds like.
Pearl Jam, they've had plenty of albums that disappointed people and even their own fans, but we got to see them perform long enough to come back around and give us Dark Matter, an album that we both just absolutely love and adore. So that's part of the fun. Yes, sometimes bands can sort of feel like maybe they've run their course, but there's always that extra thing that they might give you, and that's what we lost.
All right, well, as we're closing in on 40 minutes, let's talk about some new records and then get out of here.
Sounds good.
So first one up, one that you brought to my attention and I listened to. I'll let you talk about it first. Spiritual Cramp. Let's see, what's the name of this record?
Rude.
It's called Rude.
Yep.
Produced by John Congleton.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I didn't even look that.
The name sounds so
that.
familiar. Remind me who.
Well, he's done tons of like indie rock albums, and including Dead Confederate's second album, I think. I believe he did that one. I think that's who it was. But yeah, so I don't know much about Spiritual Cramp. I would have guessed from the way they sound and the way their album cover looks that they were British. I would have just assumed they had to be a British band, but they're not. They're American. They're from San Francisco, I believe. They make a kind of music that is going to sound relatively punk. I think they would probably be classified as a punk band, but like, it is distinctively also not punk. It's really hard to describe. They are this music is produced super clean. It's a very glossy sounding album. It's
very nice. I couldn't escape the new wave sound.
There definitely new wave in there. But what I love about this album is, first of all, the vocal melodies are they're great. Again, just a guy who writes really infectious vocal melodies. I thought that was cool. But it was funny because like the first time I listened to it, I didn't know how serious I should take it. There's something almost tongue-in-cheek and jokey about this band. Like, even like the name Spiritual Cramp, like, just immediately harkens back to like 80s punk.
The band's name was inspired by a song by Christian Death.
There you go. They have a song that's called Violence in the Supermarket that sounds so much like The Clash, who famously had Lost in the Supermarket from London Calling. Like, there's all these references that are very like on the nose sort of. And that's why I said to you, like, to me, they feel a lot like White Reaper. That, just that you're never quite sure how serious they are because, like, they're almost so bombastic. You almost wonder at times if they're doing parody, but they're not. And I think that's what I don't know. There's something kind of enjoyable to me about it. And I love, like, Violence in the Supermarket was a song that, like, you do not hear many bands blend reggae, ska, and punk anymore. Like, that was like the Clash thing that Rancid then did. And I told you, I said, in some ways, a lot of this album sort of reminds me of Rancid, only with a pop rock singer instead of Tim Armstrong. And it's a short album. It's like 35 minutes. And it's just for me, it was just a really fun listen from beginning to end. I don't know how much I would recommend it as like it's not a great album that, is really going to
it's
be
approachable
like, oh
and listenable. Of all the things we talk about, it's very much like that. Yeah.
And as a little fun tidbit, Dan Ozzi did a interview with their singer, and I knew nothing about them, but a funny tidbit in there was he was asking the singer about his workout routine, and he talked about when he moved to LA, he became friends with Kerry McCoy from Deaf Heaven, and Kerry McCoy taught him how to lift weights. So
that's
just
kind of
like a funny thing of all people. Like, you definitely would not equate Deaf Heaven and Spiritual Cramp, and at least not musically.
And Spiritual Cramp has a song with Sharon Van Etten.
Yeah, and it's a really good song too, by the way. Very good song.
So I was less interested in this, the kind of 80s vibe. I can kind of hear what you're saying about comparing them to White Reaper, and we'll talk about that one next. But I like White Reaper considerably more. There's like this one's more new wave and maybe even a tiny bit of reggae.
Definitely.
Influence, but I find White Reaper to be a lot more power pop and hooky, and that's what I'm more attracted to. But it's good. Like, I can hear the quality in it, even though I don't love it. But yeah, I didn't dive into the lyrics. The sound of it is a little bit more vapid. So to your point of like, how seriously should we take it?
The lyrics are actually incredibly self-deprecating. There's a thing about he writes.
But you know what I'm talking about, where sometimes there's a disconnect
exactly
between the vibe and the sound versus the actual literal lyrics.
Do you remember who's the band that you really were excited about this year that you turned me on to with the female singer? And I said I almost didn't like it because it was almost too cleanly produced.
Pool Kids.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
It was somebody else because it was their first album, and I said I was suspicious of, like, I was almost accusing them of being an industry plant because the album sounded way too good for a band. And I think it was just an EP. I don't even think it was a full album. It was like a 5-song EP. It was something that you were like really excited about. Like, you were shooting me 5 alarm texts. Like, I
don't remember now, but I remember, but I don't remember.
Yeah. And so I'm being a bit of a hypocrite, I suppose, but like, I did have some of those same feelings listening to Spiritual Cramp, where it was like, is this industry plant music? Like, is this somebody trying to sound punk that's not, you know what I mean? Like,
no, that's a really good point.
All of that is certainly fair and valid, but I like the lyrics are actually quite entertaining and funny. I like his style of self-deprecating. He's got a song.
Oh, it was Kills Birds.
That's it. Yep. He's got a song on here about like his funeral and nobody showing up to his funeral because everybody saw through his shit and knew that he wasn't cool. Like, I appreciate that kind of stuff. Like, like, I don't know, Skinhead. If you remember when we talked about Skinhead, they had a song on theirs about, the self-deprecating about the funerals and nobody showing up at funerals. I always find that as a funny, like, irreverent topic. But
so speaking of the comparison to White Reaper, you and I found out that they did a split with Spiritual Cramp.
Which is funny because, so when I told you that, because for context for people, when Craig told me that he was excited about White Reaper, I just said, it fascinates me that you have no interest in Spiritual Cramp, but you're interested in White Reaper, because I sort of felt like they're doing a lot of the same things. But what I didn't mean by that was that they sound similar. Instead, what I mean is they're doing the same thing to their style of music. Like, they're elevating it, making it loud, fun, bombastic, like, just not caring how infectious it was.
And then how
But
crazy is it that we didn't know that they'd
I had
done a
no
split
idea.
together?
I had no idea. And so when you sent me that, I'm like, well, apparently that was a good shout out.
So yeah, White Reaper released Only Slightly Empty at the end of September. It's one that I kind of forgot about on release date. It's one that I was looking forward to, and then it arrived, and I just kind of forgot about it. And I listened to it once or maybe, but I dove back in this week, and it reminded me of all the reasons that I loved the last record by this band. I got to see them part of their set. I missed part of their set, but I got to see them live at Louder Than Life maybe 2 years ago. And that was really cool. But this record's good. I haven't digested it all yet. I can't go track by track, but it sounds really great. And then when I was doing my homework on it, I found out that they parted ways with, I assume they're brothers, the Wilkerson brothers, bass and guitar. So they produced the record with all the non-backbeat section of the band.
Okay. Didn't know
They
that
parted
either.
ways with Nick Wilkerson, who played drums, and Sam Wilkerson, who played bass.
I mean, that's a serious replacement, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, but they
That's-
didn't replace them. They just wrote without them and hired
Okay.
people to play bass and drums, I guess. Because really, how important, if your drummer's not, like Incendiary, there are a lot of bands where the drummer's not important. Not every band has Jimmy Chamberlain. You know what I mean? Not every
Yeah.
band has Deaf Heaven's drummer, or what's the guy from Cloud Nothings? I always forget his name, but
Jason, and I'm never going to be able to pronounce his last
McGurr.
name. So
no,
No,
that's Death Cab.
no, it's got many letters in it that don't belong next to each other.
Is it Garrick or something?
But
Gerchik?
it's like way more complicated than that. You are
Yeah.
way oversimplified. It's like
All right.
Gershowitzki's something. There's a lot of G's, R's, K's, U's, S.
You're going to be embarrassed. It's not that bad, but it's
Yeah,
fine.
it is. Yeah, it is.
No, it's Garrick's. It's GerYcz.
Yeah, like those letters don't belong next to each other.
It's probably just Garrich.
Probably.
But
It
anyway,
probably is.
Jason Garrich. Anyway, unless
It's one of
you've
those
got
things, but
one of
real
these
quick,
drummers
just
that really dominates the style and becomes a part of the sound, sometimes drummers are just like a drum track.
true, but isn't that then inherently part of your sound? Like,
No.
okay.
No, I think some drummers are just essentially drum machines, and others bring actual style and substance to the band and the writing.
So are you saying that Meg White could just be replaced?
No, she was all style.
Okay.
But her actual
We're
drumming
going
could easily be
we're going
replaced.
in,
No,
we're going in,
I love
dangerous
this.
thing. I thought it was funny. Did you
The
see?
ultimate example is Metallica, because
Well, I was literally just going there because Drumeo just did a clip. I don't know, within the last week or two, or else maybe the algorithm just showed it to me then. You never know with those things. But I just saw they interviewed or had all these drummers talk about the, was it specifically just Enter Sandman? I think it was just Enter Sandman. And they were talking about the drum part on that. And it was funny because like so many of these drummers, they almost have to like qualify it because like there's this understanding that Lars Ulrich is not a good technical drummer. People who are only into technical drumming do not like him at all. But I've always made the argument that he is the ultimate musical drummer. Like very few drummers add music, something musical to the way they write their drum parts the way Lars does. And I've always felt that if you put in a quote unquote better drummer, I'm not sure Metallica would sound even close to the same. Now, maybe it would be better, maybe it would be worse, but I don't think there's any way it would sound at all like Metallica without Lars. Like, obviously, like other people can play his parts. What I'm saying is to write the music. If you were to write, if James Hetfield went to write a Metallica song with somebody other than a drummer other than Lars, I don't think it would sound very much like Metallica.
well, I mean that's part of longevity. He's an interesting case to talk about because his technical chops are not the same as, especially in the genre that they play. He just doesn't stack up. And I think, to be honest with you, I think his skills have diminished with his age. But it
Yeah.
versus a guy like I was watching. Who's the the guy Rick Beato was talking to Jimmy Chamberlain, and Jimmy was talking about how back in the early days I played this with a single bass drum pedal. I use two now because I just
Yeah.
he's finding ways to keep up with his age.
Yeah. You know who's another example? Stuart Copeland. Have you
Yeah.
seen him play drums lately? Like, he is still phenomenal.
But my point is Jimmy Chamberlain is not the same drummer he was when he was in his 20s, and he knows it,
Yeah.
and he's found ways to make up for it and change while still retaining the same level of quality. I think other guys truly just kind of fall off a cliff. And back to Smashing Pumpkins, the language has softened a lot between Billy and Darcy. But part of what he was saying about Darcy is she's been away from the game too long. She's got diminished skills. She couldn't just like jump out there and play a 90-minute set today. And I'm not sure that she wants to put in the time that it's going to take to get back up to speed to playing a 90-minute set on bass with Smashing Pumpkins. We've all still been doing it. She's hasn't been. She's been sitting on the sidelines for a long time. And like, it's cruel. Nobody wants to hear it, but there's got to be some truth to it.
Sure. No, it's interesting. I'd actually never really thought about that.
Versus I remember thinking about Dave Grohl, and I'm like, he's a whatever kind of guitar player, but now he's been playing for 30 years now.
Yeah.
He's been playing professional guitar for 30 years and getting better and better and better. I'm sure he's kind of plateaued and peaked at some point, but he's an unbelievable guitar player now.
I've actually had this thought as well before, because I've talked about this a lot. He's a significantly better guitar player now than he was earlier in the Foo Fighters career. But I think the Foo Fighters might be worse for it.
Maybe.
Like, I almost think the Foo Fighters were better off when he was solely playing guitar like a drummer.
Drop D and power chords. Yep.
And, as he's gotten better, the songs have lost some of that visceral feeling that they had with the way he was writing. So that's always been like a little bit of a theory of mine.
So anyway, back to White Reaper. What'd you think of White Reaper?
Oh yeah, this is a great White Reaper session.
No, I mean, what have you listened to it? What'd you think of it?
I have not listened to it yet, so I can't comment on it
not
yet.
doing your homework. You work too much.
I know. Well, it's that, and there's just been so many albums that I've really loved.
Yeah.
Recently that I've even like the Military Gun album, like I'm still listening to that a ton.
I feel like I've fallen off with that. I feel like I need to listen to another 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah.
But at this point of the year, there's so much in the catalog, and it's just hard to donate your time to all the new stuff.
Yeah. Well, and also listening to Mark Lanigan's massive catalog also doesn't help.
Which brings us to the final record, the second record from Psychedelic Porn Crumpets in the year. It's called Pogo Rodeo. Another just goofball sounding prog cartoon.
Yep. I love this band so much. They are so freaking good at what they do. It's unbelievable.
Well, I haven't listened to the whole record in depth to the same degree you have, so let me go first. But that first song on the record, where Salsa Verde, where it's super fast, and then they like cut into halftime. They interpolate Come Together by the Beatles, but almost in the way that Aerosmith used to play it.
But heavy. Like, it's so heavy. It's like the heaviest cover of Come Together. Almost,
without the chorus.
I would almost say more akin to the Soundgarden Come Together cover.
I forgot about that
even
one.
than Aerosmith. Like, very slow and heavy. It was so good. It's so cool how they seamlessly do that too.
And I'm going to try not to ruin it for you, but I was talking about this with another friend, and he said, you're going to enjoy this. He said, I like it, but man, they hose their drummer with the mix. And I said, shit, now I'm going to hear that every time I listen to it. I hadn't noticed. So enjoy the drummer being buried in the mix now, Andrew. Well, that's all you're going to hear.
It's funny because you can tell, like, the drums actually tend to be the thing I like listen to on like many listens later. It's always like the last thing that I like focus on and concentrate. Whereas like the Military Gun album, first thing I told you was, oh my God, I hate the guitar sound on this. Like, I hate the way they mix the guitar, and I still do. But so I always hear the guitars first. Like, that's always like the first thing I notice. And so with these guys, I don't want to step on your toes if you were still had more to say about
No,
it,
that's
but
it.
like with these guys, like the guitars is what truly excites me about this band. I mean, these guys are just scintillating guitar players. I don't know how many guitars. I don't know if there's just two or if it's one guy playing two parts. Even I don't know because I don't know that much about this band. If you, for probably obvious reasons, if you Google this band, you don't find a lot of information on them. So I don't know actually much about them other than they're from Australia. That's like the extent of what I know about them. But you were the one who turned me on to them early this year, very early this year. And I almost didn't take them seriously because of the name. And even like the goofy claymation album cover, I was just kind of like, I don't know.
But that just reminded me of Primus,
Yeah,
like
that's
Frizzle
fair.
Fry.
That's fair. But yeah, so I listened to them and fell in love with their first album. For much of the year, it was a top 5 album for me. It's not going to finish there now just because so much other stuff has come out. But I really love this band. And I think this is one of my favorite bands that you've ever turned me on to. Truly. Like,
And
this is
I
one
love that I don't have to take them seriously, and I don't have to, I don't feel like I need to digest it as important art. I can just put
Totally
it
agree.
on and enjoy myself.
Yep, that's exactly what its purpose is. Like it again, this is another pretty short album. Like this I like the first album they put out this year, which I even forget the name of that.
Carpe Diem Moon Man.
Yeah, Carpe Diem Moon Man. I like that album significantly more than this one. This one, it's the highs are really great. Like you said, Salsa Verde's great. Like, but they front load it. 3 of the first 4 songs are the singles. The Real Contraband is another song that I really love early on. And then the middle really just doesn't do a lot for me.
I mean, they're a stoner rock band. They can't stay focused.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know if
exactly.
they get stoned, but that's the style.
But then they come back for those last 3 tracks. The last 3 tracks. I don't know if I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see my screen. Do you have the second to last song? What the track title is?
I will
wish
in a
I could remember,
second.
but I really, really adore that second to last song. I almost wished it was the album.
Bowling
closer.
with Tim.
Bowling with Tim is so good that it could be the album closer. Like the album closer is good too. It's really good.
Heading
but
to Fringe.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It like gets me excited at the end, and then you like replay from the beginning, and you get that like initial jolt of energy. So it has that replayability. But to your point, this is fairly like it's fairly digestible. And I think when you're putting out multiple albums in a year, like these guys are basically like just another like King Gizzard kind of
Lizard
thing,
Wizard,
right?
yeah.
Like where King Wit is it King
Gizzard
Wizard?
and
King
the Lizard
Gizzard
Wizard.
and the Lizard. I always mix all those letters up, but it's they to me they remind me a lot of that. Very like you have some of that same jam band instincts within like a proggy kind of sound. Carpe Diem had a lot more of the stoner element that like really reminded me of Queens of the Stone Age. I talked about that when we talked about it earlier in the year. Like I felt a lot of Queens of the Stone Age influence on Carpe Diem. I didn't get as much of that on this album. It's much more of the freaky, like really fast guitar stuff, but it's fun and it's great. And again, another one I could recommend to just about anybody, as long as you can live with the name.
Yeah, so it's funny to see some of the playlists that they're included on Spotify. There's one called Gym Music 2025 for Heavy Lifting.
Okay. Sure. I
So
mean, sure.
I think that's kind of funny.
There's some energy to it.
There's another. So this one is just somebody created one called Psychedelic Porn Crumpets, but then the graphic has a picture of the band, and it just said, "You just got porned."
Fair enough. Like it.
So that entertained me, and that's all I had. But that graphic, I was looking. That's not the actual name of the playlist, but the graphic.
You just got
like
porned.
It's like a meme. Makes me laugh. So that's definitely one worth listening to. And then I'm not ready to talk about it, but one of my favorite bands, Now, Surprise released their EP. I knew they were working on something. Small indie rock. I guess they're just a duo now out of Minnesota, and they've gone really kind of poppy and electronic. They were more guitar at the beginning, but I love the vocals. I love the production. And it's always interesting. Whatever they put out is very interesting. And I already like these. I think it's 4 songs. I already like all 4 of them. So it's one of those bands that, like, you got to assume they have day jobs and
Oh yeah.
they're still just doing the best they can to put out music. And so anything they put out just feels like bonus. And the Casey Gallagher started going by the name Casey Ray, put out a solo record a year or 2 ago.
That's right.
And so
I
it's
forgot
just all
about that.
bonus. It's all bonus stuff.
What how many albums do they have now? Like, I know this is an EP, but
So I think Now had 3,
like,
and then
okay.
and then
Did
this
they
new
take
EP.
a hiatus? Okay, that's what I was thinking. I think, what was their second album? That was the one I think
Threads.
that was the one I think that I really loved. But I haven't listened to the EP yet, so I can't,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I can't add anything to that part of the conversation. But I don't know. There was always something about them. Like, did they tour ever with Hop Along?
They did not, as far as I know. I
I
saw
would-
them with Kevin Devine.
I always felt like there was some kind of similarities in career trajectories between them and Hop Along a little bit.
I could totally see that, but I don't know that they ever played together.
Yeah. I just wondered because I was like, boy, that would have been an interesting show. Like, I felt like juxtaposing their music would have been interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for this time. We thank everybody for joining us on YouTube, on the podcast platform. I forgot to post to our Substack last time, so I'll keep the Substack updated next time. But
Professional podcasters.
yeah, everything we do can normally be found at albumofrecord.com. We appreciate you guys joining us and listening whenever we post an episode, usually every week. So until next time, it's been the Album of Record podcast.